If your wife doesn't respect you, your leadership is just noise. Stop arguing, stop negotiating, because the second you try to convince her, you've already lost. Here's why respect comes before leadership and how to get it back. We're going live.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
What's going on, guys? Looks like the stream is not streaming to Facebook again. For some reason, that connection broke. Seems to be happening a lot lately. And I know if I reach out to the StreamYard people, they'll be like, oh, it's Facebook's problem. And then you can't reach out to Facebook's people because they don't have any customer service. Anyway, happy President's Day, guys. Hopefully most of you guys have the day off. I, of course, am still here working because I have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail. But I love this stuff, man. I love it. This isn't work to me. Helping men level up and getting better with women, it's kind of my passion. It's my mission in life. Speaking of which, if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Paul Bauer, and I do help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about that is that when you do the things that you need to do to level up and get better with women, it tends to make you a better man in general. You know what's interesting? I caught the first couple of minutes of Red Morning with that bastard Brian Stone on Saturday. And like right at the beginning, he said that the term leveling up, it's a platitude. It's a platitude. Well, he's not wrong, but I'm sure it has meaning for you when I say it, doesn't it? Anyway, let me ask you, have you ever felt like no matter what you do, your wife just won't respect you? You try to lead, you try to take charge, but instead of following your lead, she resists, or worse, ignores you completely. And let's be real, without respect, your so-called leadership is just barking orders into the void. You're stuck in a loop, feeling like a second-class citizen in your own home. She makes the decisions, sets the tone, and you're just along for the ride. It's frustrating. It's humiliating. And if you don't fix it, the gap between you is only going to get wider. But here's the truth. Leadership isn't about control. It's about presence. It's about certainty, and it's about respect. Okay. And if she doesn't respect you, then leadership's not going to work. Right. The good news, there's a way to rebuild that respect and get back the dynamic you want. And by the end of the stream, you'll know exactly what steps to take to reclaim your authority and transform how she sees you without begging, arguing, or chasing. Now, I mentioned that bastard Ryan Stone before. Well, this episode is inspired by a post he did a few years ago in the Red Pill archive called, if you're not, we're not at the 8-minute mark. If you're not banging, that's not what he said. He used the F word. But if you're not banging, shut up about leadership. Okay. And it's really got me thinking a lot lately. And he's definitely not wrong there. And I do have some clients where like this applies, right? This absolutely applies. Like their relationship has eroded so far that no matter what kind of leading they try to do, their wives like completely ignore it. You know, they do their own thing anyway. They basically almost look at their husbands like they're other children in the house, right? Like they're just another child in the house that they have to take care of. And so they have no respect for their husbands. And so when their husbands try to like make decisions and try to set the tone, like their wives either resist it or they just completely outright ignore them. Right. So I see it. And, anyway, I just dropped it in the chat there. This is the article that Ryan posted. So anyway, it got me thinking, okay, Ryan, you're right as usual. But eventually you do have to start leading and setting the tone, right? Like you eventually have to start somewhere. So how do you do that? And where do you start? Right? Well, I found another really good article in the Red Pill archive from a guy named Strategos Autocrator. I don't know how to pronounce that right. But he's the guy that came up with the idea that frame is a tetrahedron, right? And if you ever read Ryan's first book on frame, that Ryan describes it as a tetrahedron, right? Where it's made up of three pillars, your physical pillar, your emotional pillar, and your intellectual pillar, and those come together to support your vision. Yeah, right. That came from this dude. Anyway, he wrote a post called "How to Lead a Wife That Doesn't Let You." Right. And I was like, okay, so this is the perfect where Ryan sort of lays up the problem, right? And then Otto Couture is like, here's the solution. Right. So that's what we're going to go over today. We're going to go over sort of both their ideas today. So I dropped both of those in the live chat. If you guys want to read those, they're pretty good. Before we get too far into this, though, do be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail, even on holidays. And it is a holiday. I'm surprised there's not more people watching live right now. Most of you guys, I guess, are sleeping in, I guess. Okay. If you guys are watching live, sound off in the chat, though. I'd love to hear from you. And then if you guys are finding value in any of these episodes, do consider sending a super chat. That supports us probably more than anything else. The ads on these streams certainly pay pennies. I just got my taxes back from Spotify, like my tax information back from Spotify, and it's like I'm like, why do I even post on Spotify anymore? It pays so little, with their advertising revenue, and there's just not that many, paid Spotify members where I get like the paid membership, but it's like, okay, fine. Anyway, I do this because I love it, not because of the money necessarily. Because what money? Unless you guys send super chats, it's a different story. Anyway, so the first part, so I basically broke this up into two parts, right? So basically the first part of this podcast is going to be going over Ryan's stuff, right? Or the concepts from Ryan's stuff, right? So like why leadership doesn't work if she doesn't respect you, right? If she's not attracted to you and she doesn't respect you, she's not going to listen to you. Like, why should she? Right. So if you try to lead at this point, like you're just wasting your time a lot of the times, right? So leadership, it's a lagging indicator, not a starting point. So respect precedes leadership, right? If she doesn't respect you, your leadership comes off like barking orders rather than inspiring direction, right? Like even if she does what you tell her to do, she does it like out of resentment and she's pissed off and she doesn't like that you're telling her what to do. You know what I mean? And this is something where like you can't fake it. It's not a you can fake it till you make it type thing. You can't, right? If she senses desperation in your leadership attempts, where you're just like sort of demanding it and then she's not listening. And so you get even more infuriated and stuff like that. She's just going to lose even more respect for you. It basically will reinforce that lack of respect. And so here's the thing, like, a lot of times people are like, well, how do I make my wife respect me? How do I demand she respect me and stuff? Or right. Or how do I demand that she follow my lead or whatever? It's like, you can't demand anything. Respect is earned. It's earned through your actions. You have to be a man worthy of that respect. Right. And up until this point, you've allowed any kind of, semblance of respect to erode over time. And so getting back to that point, it's going to require some work. It's going to take a lot of effort on your part. Right. If she doesn't just trust your decision making now, she won't just naturally start deferring to you. Okay. Now, a lot of guys, when they're at this point, they've been very passive. Like when I think of several of my clients that are at a point like this, it's because they've been passive for way too long, right? They have not been leaders in their own life, right? They just sort of let life happen to them. They're sort of go with the flow type guys. you know, their wives, they've already always just sort of left plans up to their wives. Let her deal with it. Let her make the vacation plans. Let her make the dinner plans. Let her do all this stuff, and I'm just going to relax and just do what I'm told, right? Well, if you've been doing that since the beginning, and a lot of times guys do that because they're trying to make their wives happy. They think, oh, if we do what my wife wants to do, then she's going to be happy, right? And so guys will naturally just fall into that complacency type pattern. Well, if you let her do that for too long, now she's just not going to trust your ability to lead. She's just going to be like, this guy can't make decisions. He won't make decisions. He would much rather be told what to do. And so when all of a sudden you start barking orders, she's like, no, I'm the one that makes decisions around here. It's always been that way. Right. So she's not going to just naturally defer to you when you start trying to make these changes. Like now she's like, no, I'm in the driver's seat. Like we do what I want to do all the time. You know what I mean? So that's a challenge, right? That's a challenge. Lack of attraction undermines authority, right? Like think of it this way. You know, if you go out, this is one of the things I love to do. When I'm out, when I was out on the dating circuit, one of the things I tell guys that they need to do when they're out dating is practice the 3 T's, right? Tease, touch, and tell. And one of the reasons why you're doing this is to test a woman's ability to follow your lead, right? So you tell her what to do. Hey, meet me at this place at this time, right? There's going to be lots of women out the gate that don't find you attractive enough to do what you tell them to do, right? But a woman who finds you extremely attractive she's like, oh my God, I'm just grateful that this guy asked me out. And like, I'll do anything he says, right? She'll do anything you tell her to do at first, right? Just without even questioning it because she's so attracted to you, right? But if a woman's not attracted to you at all, she isn't going to do anything you tell her to do. In fact, she's going to be a headache, and it's like, it's fine. Not every woman's going to be attracted to you, and that's okay. So just don't get hurt by it. Just be like, okay, well, she didn't pass that test. She's not going to follow my lead. She's not the right woman for me, right? Well, typically, women don't get married to guys that they don't have some kind of attraction for, at least in the beginning, right? But over time, that attraction fades. Either like the physical attraction fades because you let yourself go, or she just doesn't find your actions attractive anymore because you stop leading, you stop making decisions, you stop planning, like you stop doing all that kind of stuff. You start becoming the passive guy in the relationship, or a combination of both, right? But either way, that attraction's faded over time. And the thing is that sexual polarity drives that attraction. You know what I mean? The balance, the complementary nature of masculine and feminine energy, right? Behavior, traits, masculine traits, whatever you want to say it, like, hey, it's not red pill to say energy. Okay. Your masculine traits and your feminine traits, whatever you want to call it, right? But if you have started deferring to your wife's decision making, you started becoming the passive one in the relationship. You're acting in your feminine traits, right? You're being more like the woman in the relationship. Okay. And then that makes her have to start making decisions, start making plans. That's more in her masculine traits, her energy, whatever. And that's unnatural to her. Right now, she's acting like the man in the relationship, and she doesn't trust your ability to lead now, and that lowers that attraction level. Okay, so if she doesn't want to sleep with you, that's where Ryan says, like, if she's not we're past the 8-minute mark. If she's not fucking you, forget about leadership. It's because she doesn't want to sleep with you anymore because she's not attracted to you anymore, because you've probably been the woman in the relationship for too long now. Right. So sexual polarity drives that attraction, it drives that deference, right? So if she's more sexually attracted to you, she's more willing to defer to your leadership, right? So essentially, you aren't leading. It's essentially you aren't leading if she doesn't have the desire to follow. Like, you can't lead. You can't lead a woman that doesn't want to follow your lead, right? And you can't negotiate that either. You can't say, okay, honey, here's the thing. I've been working with Paul for the last couple of weeks, and he says I need to be the leader now. So that means you need to follow my lead. Like you can't have this conversation with her, right? It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way. That's why when we say, "Oh, have you?" Like the blue pill people are like, "Well, have you talked to her about it? Have you had a conversation about it?" What conversation? There's no conversation that's going to work in that scenario. Okay, you can't negotiate it. It has to be inspired through your actions, right? You have to become the man she wants to follow, right? And that we'll get to how to do that here in a little bit. Being nice doesn't create desire, right? Chores and emotional labor alone don't generate attraction. Like you can't say, "Hey, honey, let me do the dishes for you," and expect her to like start following your lead now, because now you're basically doing that sort of thing as a way to supplicate to her to try to make her happy. She's looking at you as a one below position from her, right? That's not a leadership position. Someone that's doing those types of actions, right? So you can't do that in order to try to make her respect you now. You know what I mean? I have another client who he's being a little too passive. He's being a little too nice because he's trying to keep the peace in order to try to rebuild this attraction and rebuild this relationship with his wife. He's basically like being too accommodating, too nice. He's like, whatever she wants to do kind of thing. And I'm like, see, do you see how that's not working though? Like that's further eroding this respect she has for you, right? So you can't do that, right? Being nice doesn't create that desire either. Okay. And none of this can be negotiated. That desire can't be negotiated. It just can't. So you can't argue her into wanting to follow you, right? It has to be earned. So Ryan says it's a lot like your kids trying to bark orders, right? And have you ever heard a woman refer to their husband like another child in the house? Like, "Oh, great, I just have another child in the house I have to take care of," right? Well, if she's thinking of you that way, you trying to all of a sudden lead, it's going to go nowhere, because she's going to literally look at you like another child in the house who's just trying to bark orders, and she's not going to do what the kid tells her to do. Right? So it kind of makes sense, right? Does that make sense? It makes sense what Ryan's saying there. Let's see. What do we got here? We have Nurse Chick's in the house. She says, "Good morning, gentlemen." Good morning, Nurse Chick.
So naughty.
She is.
I'm going to come.
Oh, I am. Yeah. Alex says, "It's a holiday, but not a holiday that anyone cares about." Yeah. President's Day. It reminds me of, God, back in the 90s, Chris Rock was on Saturday Night Live, and like early 90s, right? And Chris Rock used to be on Saturday Night Live, and he was saying how it was like a weekend update. And I guess people in Arizona at that time were complaining about having the day off for Martin Luther King Day. And he's like, why are people complaining about having the day off? It's not like you have to be black on that day. You just don't have to work. Like, what's the problem, right? Like, it's the President's Day. Like, you don't have to like the presidents. You just don't have to work. Anyway, Alex says, "If a relationship gets to a point of resentment, at this point, just separate." It's easier said than done for some people, Alex. When some people have like shared assets, they have children involved, like it's not as simple as that. Some guys can get financially wrecked. Dondra says fire. He says it's as simple as that. It's way simpler if you don't actually get married. Right? Like, for instance, like Nurse Chick and I aren't married, and she doesn't live here. She stays here like every other week, but she doesn't live here, right? Like if she wasn't all of a sudden was pulling away, wasn't having sex with me as much, like I would just be like, it's not working for me. And like it would be an easy split because we don't have any shared assets. It'd be way easier, right? But if we had, a shared mortgage on a house with both of our names on it, we had 401ks, like tied together that we've been building up over years together. Now all of a sudden it's not so simple, because when you go to court, like she's entitled to half my 401k, she's entitled to half this house, right? Like if she has any debts, like I'm on the hook for her debts. Like it's not so easy to just, it's really easy to just say, hey, yeah, divorce. Hey, yeah, split up. But it's easier on paper, you know? Kamal says a simple rule to follow is always make decisions. If she suggests a better alternative, consider it. Otherwise, you default to right. That's a good habit to get into. It's the best habit to get into from the beginning. But most things, like maybe marriage isn't the best idea for men. A lot of guys didn't get that memo until after they're already married and they're already in this position. So, so it's like, now what? Well, now you gotta sort of go back to the beginning and learn this stuff and start applying it. But you can turn the ship around, just your relationship didn't get to the point it was overnight. It's like dieting. You know what I mean? Like you didn't get fat overnight. It's going to take a little bit of effort. It's going to take a little bit of effort to turn that ship around. All right, guys. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak. It explains the betaization process and why attraction tends to fade over time. And women are doing this on a subconscious level. They don't even know they're doing this sort of thing. And if you don't know that she's doing this, you're going to fall victim to it, right? But if you know what she's doing and you know how to handle it, you know what to recognize, you can prevent that attraction from fading in the long term, right? You can defend against the dark arts there. And then if you want to really go into depth on it and then how to turn that dynamic around, get my latest book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, which is available on Amazon and Audible. Speaking of books, my second book there, Psychology Paradigm, it's a part of the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series. I am helping Thor format his book, which is going to be the fourth book in the series. It's called The Superhero Inside. And I was going through that yesterday. I was working on it, and man, what a good book Thor's put together. Oh my God. It's going to be a good book. It teaches you to look at yourself like you're a superhero, right? And like really imagine yourself like, and like take on the identity of a superhero on the inside. And like, how would that empower you in your life? Right. And he talks about ideas from Nietzsche, whatever his name is. Anyway, he has this idea of the Ubermensch, right? The Overman, somebody who's like unshakable and nothing bothers them. And he has a whole chapter on that and how you can incorporate those concepts into your identity and then how to program that identity. It's really good book. I really am enjoying working on it right now. Anyway, back to my book. Get Her to Fuck You Again. It's available in all formats.
Have you ever felt like...
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
Indeed. Where are we at here? There we go. Erkin says, how is Thor? Thor's good. I just talked to him yesterday. He's recovering at home. He did have to go to the hospital. He had he was in a lot of pain, and they think that was it spinal meningitis that he got. an infection called, but all of his blood work and his spinal fluid tests showed negative for that, but he just had all the symptoms. So they're basically treating it like he had spinal meningitis and possibly an infection in his brain. So they're treating him for that. Otherwise, like he just needs to get a lot more sleep. He was telling me he needs to get a lot more sleep, and he tends to feel better when he's sleeping more. And also, I think according to his brother Vidar, he was like right before that episode, he was overdoing it a little bit too much in the gym. He's really trying to beat this thing, and so I think he was going a little too hard in the gym, and he needs to maybe take it a step back a little bit. Anyway, but he's hanging in there. All right, the next concept here is if she's the default decision maker, right? If you've left it up to her to basically make all decisions and the plans and vacation activities and dinner outings and how to decorate the house and literally every major decision up to this point, your leadership is basically LARPship. You are LARPing. You are live action role playing at this point, right? And here's the thing, someone willingly wanting to follow you, it's not a conscious choice, right? It's a reaction. If someone has really good leadership abilities, like they sort of inspire you to want to do what they're instructing you to do. It's kind of like when you're in a crisis situation, like the most calm guy who's like instructing people to do whatever, like you're more likely to listen to what they say because they're the one that's like showing, leadership in the moment, right? So it's like it's a reaction. You'll just naturally react to something like that. Well, women, they tend to follow men and respect men who like are setting the tone and leading. They instinctually want to follow a guy who's been doing that, right? But if you haven't been doing that for the last 10, 15 years, all of a sudden you trying to do that all of a sudden will just be weird to them. It'll be awkward and they won't follow you as a favor, right? They won't be like, all right, let's try this thing where we follow him for a little bit and see what happens. Like they just aren't naturally going to want to do that. Okay. So in a man without a vision is a man without authority. Right? If you don't have a clear direction, she won't follow you even if she wanted to. Okay? Dr. Robert Glover says this really well. Like a woman can't follow where a man won't lead. Right? A woman can't follow where a man won't lead. And if you don't know where you're going, she can't trust you to lead. Okay? And maybe you don't know where you're going. Right? Maybe you don't. But that's where like confidence comes in, where you just like act like where that's where you can fake it, right? Where you're just like you go with your gut, right? Like I don't know if this is the best decision, but I'm going with something. And you go with it and you go with it from a confident sort of demeanor. She's more likely to trust you because she's going to go, oh, he knows what he's doing. Like, and that just comes from how like your confidence is projected, right? But if you act very wishy-washy, like, I don't know if we should be doing this, but, I guess we can do this, that you're not really saying it very confidently. She's not going to trust your decision there. Right. And that's where a lot of guys really fall. They have a hard time, and it's with the language, right? It's where when they go to make a decision, they go to make plans instead of telling their wife, right? I'm always talking about the 3 T's, tease, touch, and tell. So of telling your wife, hey, we're doing this. Hey, I made plans. Let's do this. Hey, we're going out 7 p.m. tonight. Grab your shoes. Right. That's a very confident way of saying I've made plans. We're doing this. Like women respond to that very well. But if you're like, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think, honey? And you're asking for her buy-in. It doesn't come across very, very confident. And she doesn't believe that you have direction. She's not going to necessarily want to go with what your idea is, right? So that's where you're going to get a lot of, no, I don't think we should do that. No, I don't really want to do that kind of thing, right? But if you go, hey, we're doing this, meet me at 7, or hey, we're doing this, grab your shoes, we're leaving at 7, you're going to get more yeses. It's the same thing on the dating circuit, right? When you're out, asking women out on dates, instead of asking them what they want to do, or asking them like, hey, maybe you kind of want to maybe meet up for coffee or something. I don't know. If you say it like that, women are like, no, I don't think so. But if you're like, hey, you seem like a cool chick, when are you free to get together? And they're like, oh, I'm free on Thursday night. You're like, cool, meet me at the Feisty Pie at 7 p.m. Right? If you say it like that, you're going to get more yeses, right? It's because you're being decisive, you're making plans, you're not giving her any wiggle room. And it comes across very confidently, right? You see that? You're a man with a vision at that point. Trying to lead without strength signals weakness, right? If you're unsure of yourself, your leadership looks like a child playing pretend. That's why I'm saying, like, you can't ask for her buy-in when you do this stuff. You have to just say, we're doing this, or I'm doing this. Like, she doesn't have to come along for the ride, right? Like, you could say, hey, like if you're at the point where she doesn't trust your leadership and she doesn't really want to bang you and she doesn't really want to do a lot of stuff with you, you start by saying, hey, I'm thinking we need to get steak tonight. Like, grab your shoes. Like, we'll go out and we'll go get steak. She's like, I don't want to go out. Right? Okay. Well, do you have a better suggestion? She's like, no, I just don't want to go out. Okay. Well, cool. Well, I'm going. Right? Like, you go no matter what. That is a confident way of starting out. We're going to get more into this later, right? But you're not trying to get her buy-in to this. You're getting steak. Like, I'm getting this. You see what I'm saying? But if you're unsure of yourself, you're not going to lead that way. You're going to want her buy-in. You're going to say, is that okay? Does steak sound good to you? Like, all that kind of shit, right? And it's going to look like a child playing pretend. You're not actually leading at that point, right? You're still leaving the decisions up to her. Okay. And then arguing over leadership makes you look weak, right? So verbal debates about leadership, it's absolutely pointless to do. This is where communication's not the key to a healthy relationship, because the standard advice that the normie will give you, the blue pill guy will give you, is, oh, well, you should talk about it with her. Like, you should let her know that you're trying to lead the relationship now and she needs to try to follow you. Like, you can't talk your way through this. You can't, right? You can't talk about it. You have to be about it. Okay. So if you have to argue that you should be respected, like, that's going to even create even a bigger gap in that respect, right? You can't talk about it. You have to be about it, right? Was demonstrate, don't explicate, is what Rollo says, right? And then your frame determines your leadership. So the man who is in charge, he doesn't need to argue about it, right? He knows he's in charge. He knows he's the leader of the relationship. That's a mindset thing, right? And most of you guys, when you've found yourself in this spot, you haven't had that mindset before. You've always had the happy wife, happy life. You've referred to your wife as the boss, your whole life. And it's been society and your parents and your uncles and all this kind of stuff. Like, I still get that kind of crap. When I go home to my parents, my dad will say, like, randomly say stuff to Nurse Chick, like, you get to hit him, right? You get to hit him. My dad will say that to Nurse Chick. Like, if I say something sort of off color or whatever, my dad will be like, you get to hit him, right? Right. And then basically, like, he has this mentality that Nurse Chick is overall in charge. Well, Nurse Chick and we have a dynamic where that's not true. Like, I'm setting the tone and leading this relationship, and she's happy to follow that lead. Right. That's why, like, when we go over to my parents' house, like, Nurse Chick will make me a plate of snacks. She'll make me a plate of food. Like, if it's Thanksgiving, she'll make me a plate. Like, she won't let me get up and go do that. My mom hates it. My mom's like, why are you doing that? You're making me look bad. It's like, so Nurse Chick, like, she just ignores my mom, ignores my dad, and she still does what she does, because our relationship is great and theirs is trash. So you can't listen to people like that, right? But that's a mindset thing. That's where you have to take on the mindset. Like, no, I'm the man. I'm setting the tone and leading. I'm the captain, right? That's where you have to have these mental models. Like, I don't have to explain myself to my subjects. I'm the king, kind of thing. Right. And sounds toxic as hell, but it's helpful for men to break themselves out of this nice guy syndrome crap. And so that they do start setting the tone and leading, you know? So you got to develop that mental frame that no, I'm in charge here. Right. Leadership is about certainty, not consensus. So seeking approval for decisions before acting erodes your authority. All right. This is a problem with the partner mental model, right? Like thinking of your wife as your partner, your equal partner. I'm like one of the biggest guys in the space that's like sound like banging the drums on this. Stop thinking of your wife as your partner. She's not your partner. Okay. Partnerships are done through consensus, right? Like you want buy-in from the committee. Okay. Well, women operate with other women through consensus. Women operate with other women through consensus, right? They want to, have a committee, and they all want to have a buy-in, and none of them can get along, right? Men typically operate better under hierarchy, and that hierarchy provides stability. Okay. And women need that kind of structure from a man. That's a part of the masculine and feminine polarity. Okay. They need that structure from a man because they can't do it themselves. They're not naturally good at it. They naturally want to operate through consensus, but someone's got to lead in that relationship. Okay. And the thing is, if you start looking at her as your partner, you start wanting her buy-in, you start wanting her consensus on stuff, you're actually making her the decision maker, which actually puts her in the leadership role, which she doesn't want to be in. And now she doesn't trust your ability to lead, right? So you can't do that. She's not your partner. She's your executive officer. Okay. You're the captain. She's the executive officer. So stop asking for her buy-in and approval on stuff and decisions. You don't need it, right? You make decisions. She either likes it or she doesn't, but you're doing what you're doing. Okay. That's actually going to build more respect with her if you go with your gut and do what you say you're going to do, than trying to ask for buy-in and say, are you okay with that, honey? So you tell her what the plan is. You don't ask if she approves of the plan, right? Tease, touch, and tell is some of your biggest tools in your toolbox. Okay. Speaking of tease, touch, and tell, my son, he had a Valentine's date on Friday, guys. I'll give you an update on him real quick. He brought this girl over. He's like, Dad, is it okay if I bring this girl over, for Valentine's Day? And because he's 16, but he doesn't have his driver's license yet. He's going to be 16 rather. He's still 15. So he's going to be 16 at the end of the month. He doesn't have his driver's license yet. So, I mean, like, dating options when you're a teenager and you don't have a driver's license are very limited. So and she doesn't have her driver's license either, even though she's a junior and he's a sophomore. But anyway, he invites her over to the house. Apparently her parents were okay with it. So she comes over, and I was like, keep your door open. Keep your door open. But I ended up making dinner for the two of them and stuff like that. And anyway, I've been trying to put him on game a little bit, right? I've been telling him about the 3 T's. I've been telling him how, he needs to be more decisive. He can't ask for her buy-in. He can't do all this simp shit, right? Anyway, he's taking some of it and running with it. Some of it he's not listening to me on, but he'll learn the hard way. But he told me after the date, he went in for a kiss because I told him, I go, look, you have to kiss her. You have to kiss her, man. Like if you're feeling it, like in the middle of the date, or at least at the end of the date when we take her home, like you walk her to the door, even though her mom picked her up. But I was like, either way, you have to go for a kiss no matter what tonight, right? Because it's going to be the ultimate test of interest. It's going, like, you're going to basically setting the ground rules here that, hey, I'm not trying to be your friend. I have a romantic interest in you, right? So you have to go for a kiss. Well, anyway, he tells me after the fact that he did go for a kiss, and they ended up making out a little bit, which is good for him. And then he's like, and then the 3 T's, Dad, 3 T's. I go, yeah, you did the tease, touch, and tell. He's like, oh yeah. He goes, I go, well, how did you tease her? And he tells me about how he teased her, and I'm like, and she was giggling the whole time. You could tell this girl was into my son. She was laughing at those dumb jokes. He was teasing her about different things, and she loved it. She was eating it up. He's like, yeah, it works really great. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And then tease, touching her. He was like, he put her hand on her thigh, or he would hold her hand, or like he'd go for, like kiss her forehead, or he put his arm around her, like all that kind of stuff, right? Good stuff. Got to break that touch barrier. And then I go, what did you tell her to do? Did you tell her to do something? And he's like, I still need to work on that. Like, yeah, a lot of guys do. I was like, but do it. Like, tell her, hey, let's get together. Like meet me or whatever. Like, tell her to do something. And so he's going to work on that. But yeah, my father should buy my books, but he won't. He won't, and he won't want to read them anyway. He thinks he knows everything, and he's old too. He's like 75. It's like when you know, the movie The Matrix, right? They don't unplug people after a certain age because their minds can't handle it. Same thing. Like, you can't unplug someone who's like 75. They're more likely to end things if you unplug them later in life. All right. John says, I don't get why so many kids these days don't get their licenses as soon as they can. I don't get it either. My son he wants to get it, right? He wants to get it. His grades weren't as good last year when it came to getting his permit. So it did take him a couple of months till he got his grades back up. And then, so it's going to take a little bit of while to get his driver's license, because he has to have his license for a year, or his permit for a year. So we still got a couple months, but as far as shopping for cars, like, he's just not motivated to shop for cars. I'm going to have to like push him to buy a goddamn car. He's got money for it. We've been saving up for years. Let's see here. Ichuk Deverma. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Most men go to the gym only for show off, for attracting elegant girls. I don't know why hypermind mindset nowadays. Okay. All right. Oh, I mentioned the girl is older. She is. She's I think that's not her not wanting to do it. I think it's like you know what it is, John, is her mom's single mom. Her dad, she's a widower. Her father passed away. And so it's just her and her mom. And I've noticed that single moms just don't push their kids to get driver's licenses. Like a lot of single moms don't want to take their kids out for driving licenses. Like, they just can't mentally handle it. It's like, so they need to get like their husbands to do it, their boyfriends, their brothers, like, hey, but they just can't mentally handle doing the car driving teaching stuff. And so a lot of single mom households, their kids wait till they're 18 and then they have to like go out and get it on their own. It's not ideal. Not ideal. All right, guys. Man, I've been going off on a tangent here. Join Beer Club, beer.comeonmanpod.com. We're having our monthly hangout this Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So if you've been thinking about joining Beer Club, get in there now. It's only $10 a month. You can join now with a free trial. Show up for the call on Thursday, see if you like it or not. And if you don't, just cancel before you get charged, and no harm, no foul, right? But if you like it, stay in the group. The real value isn't our monthly hangouts, because our hangouts are really informal, just guys getting together, talking about guy stuff. It's just a place for guys to connect with other guys. The real value is in the Telegram community. So check that out. Go to beer.comeonmanpod.com. And then if you guys need help with your relationships, you need help with this, right? You're like, your wife just won't follow your lead. The traction's gone. She's not fucking you anymore. And you really want to turn this dynamic around. You don't want to just throw in the towel. Book a free call with me. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right. So where do we start leading? Okay. So we talked about why she won't follow you, but at some point, if you want to change this dynamic, you have to start, right? You have to start somewhere. So there's 6 areas where men can start leading to build trust and attraction. Okay. So one simple one is take ownership of household maintenance without seeking approval on it. See, what a lot of guys do, and this pisses off tons of wives, right, is like, you work all day. You work, 40-hour work weeks or more, 40, 60, 80-hour work weeks. You're working your fucking ass off. You're trying to pay the bills. You put food on the table. The last thing you want to do when you come home is a bunch of chores and stuff, right? Well, a lot of your households, your wives are also working, and the last thing they want to do is do all the chores in households, but it has to get done. And so what tends to happen is wives like will still do a lot of the chores around the house. And then they'll see that you're not doing any chores around the house. And then they start giving you honey-do lists, right? And then you resent her ass for giving you honey-do lists. Well, instead of waiting around for your wife to give you a honey-do list to completely occupy your Saturday or Sunday, take it upon yourself to make your own fucking list of shit that needs to get done, right? Start taking some ownership of your own house. You know, like don't take the trash out because she tells you that the trash is full and it needs to go out. Like keep an eye on it. When you see it needs to go out, take it out yourself, right? You know, you're not doing this kind of stuff in order to get brownie points. That's the big thing, right? A lot of guys will look at like the love languages and they'll say, oh, her top love languages are acts of service and gift giving, right? Which is usually women's like top acts of service, right? Like, or top love languages is acts of service and gift giving. And so they'll try to do all this stuff to try to negotiate that desire. Like that's not going to make her more attracted to you. Okay. By itself. Like you can't do the dishes in order to try to get her to fuck you. It won't work that way. But what you can do is realize that this is your fucking house too. And shit needs to get done and just start doing it. Right. And then when she comes with you, the honey-do list, like say, no, I got a bunch of stuff I'm already working on. Right. But you want to take some initiative there, right? Identify and fix problems before she asks, right? You're taking initiative of your own house. And don't announce it. Just fucking do it. Just start working on stuff. Okay. Because if you're doing this stuff and you're trying to seek her validation and the attaboy is like, hey, honey, did you see that I fixed the stairs? Did you see that? Like you're seeking validation, which is unattractive behavior. Just fucking do it. And like, just do it because it needs to get done, not because you're trying to get brownie points. Okay. And that consistency over time, it's going to rewire her expectations. Okay. Because once she sees that you're competent and that you make plans and that you're making your own projects and you're doing your own thing, she's going to stop bugging you about the stuff that she perceives needs to be done. She's going to be like, oh, he'll find it. Like he'll see that this needs to get done and he'll fix it, right? Like I don't have to worry about that. And she can start relaxing more into her feminine, right? But that's going to signal that you take the initiative, okay? And you're doing it without trying to get that validation seeking. And that consistency over time, that's going to rewire her expectations, okay? Once she sees you as confident, she's going to start naturally deferring to you, okay? Over time. It's not going to be overnight, but eventually she's going to start trusting your judgment, especially when she sees like, oh, yeah, he handles shit. He handles shit. I don't have to worry about it. She's going to naturally start deferring to you, right? You want to control your time and prioritize yourself. Okay. Like I said, none of this can be about her. It's got to be your time, your schedule, your honey-do list that you make for yourself, right? Like that kind of shit, right? And you want to not only do chores around the house, but you also want to like absolutely do stuff for you that is outside the relationship, like fitness. You want to start going to the gym. You want to start having new hobbies, right? One of the things I was telling I have a client calls every Monday. I was telling my client, like, you need to start doing something that you do for yourself, like on a weekly basis. Like, I don't know, if you want to take up axe throwing and go out like once a week and grab some beers and go throw an axe around like that. You have to have something that you go do that naturally creates space in the house, right? You got to create, especially for him. He and his wife both work from home, right? Like you have to like force space there because attraction grows in space, right? So you have to have more time for yourself, and you're not getting her buy-in on it. You're just fucking doing it, right? A man who prioritizes himself, it commands more respect, right? If she's got to compete for your attention, right? That creates natural scarcity, which creates value. Scarcity creates value. You see where I'm going with that, okay? And stop justifying why you need to do what you need to do, right? You don't need to justify why you got to go to the gym. You don't have to justify why you want to start taking up axe throwing. You know what I mean? You don't have to justify wanting to hang out with friends and start reconnecting with friend circles and having good social circles, you have to justify yourself. Okay. It's your time. Own it. Right. You don't have to explain any of this. Just say, hey, I'm going out. Hey, Thursday night, I'm busy. I'm going out. Right. You don't have to tell her why. Because women are more attracted to guys that have a life beyond them. Like, no matter what a woman says, a woman might say she wants to be the center of your world and have everything revolve around her. But as soon as you start doing that, that's going to drive her away. Like, the women don't want that. It's one of those things where you can't listen to what women say and you just got to watch what they respond to. They don't respond to a man that makes them the center of their world and puts them on a pedestal. Okay. So the more independent you are, the more she sees that you're doing fun activities without her, like, the more she's going to want to be a part of that world that you're building for yourself, right? It's naturally attractive. You want to set boundaries, stop over explaining. We already talked about, you don't have to explain yourself, right? But like, if you go to do any of the stuff and she pushes back, stand firm without getting emotional about it, right? The more reactive you are, the weaker you look. That's why we say, never dear, always Luca, right? That's why we use tools from, like, when I say no, I feel guilty, right? Like fogging, negative inquiry, all that kind of stuff, because you're not reacting to her emotions. You're not even jumping on her emotional roller coaster, right? You're the most calm person in that moment, and the calm person's always going to win. Okay. So just stand firm, right? Like, she's like, why, man, you're always going out to the gym and I'm always left home alone. You'd be like, yeah, I can see why you might be frustrated with that. I'm going out to the gym tonight. Right. All right. I'm still going out though. Yeah, I can see why you might be frustrated, but I'm still going out though. Right. You can't lead without setting expectations, right? There's no consequences for if there's no consequences for disrespect, leadership is meaningless. Okay. Well, what are your consequences going to be for disrespect? Can anyone tell me, like, what are your consequences for disrespect in a relationship where you live with your wife and you can't, like, just go home and you can't just, like, outrightly dump her? Like, what's a good consequence for a wife, right? Like, if she's being disrespectful. Anybody? Bueller? Anybody? I'll let you guys marinate on that. There it is. Ding, 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 ding. Oh, that's not it. Here it is. Ding, 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 ding. John says, take away time. That's right. You just remove your time and attention. Time and attention is the coin of the realm in girl world, right? Your time and attention, time, money, and attention, if you want to go MGTOW with it. But your time and attention is your most important value in the relationship. So if she's being disrespectful, you're like, we're not dealing with this right now. I'm taking off, right? So you got to have consequences. You got to not be afraid to walk away and mean it, right? The strongest negotiating position is the person willing to walk away and mean it, right? Plan and execute without seeking permission. Start with small decisions and build up. Plan an activity and inform, don't ask. Hey, we're going out Saturday night, right? Hey, I made plans, we're going out Saturday night. That you're informing her of it. You're not asking for her permission. Okay. You want to handle the logistics yourself. So a man who plans and executes without hesitation is naturally respected. This is something that, guys, I encourage guys to get in the habit of, right? Be the guy that plans date nights. Be the guy that looks for cool new activities to do in town. Like, it's pretty easy to do, like, if you just, if you go on Instagram and follow, like, certain accounts that'll tell you what's happening in your area, like, you usually get pretty good ideas of places to go and restaurants to go see and, venues to go to, like music environments. I took Nurse Chick out last year to a dueling piano thing. And I found that from some Facebook group post. They had some kind of event going on. And I was like, oh, what's this event? Oh, they have dueling pianos. Oh, that would be a fun thing. And I was like, I asked Nurse Chick, hey, you ever been to dueling pianos? And she's like, no. And I'm like, well, you're going to learn Saturday because I got tickets, right? Like, I actively look for stuff like that. And I make those plans. And I just tell Nurse Chick, hey, we're doing this sort of thing, Women like that. Like, it's a part of the 3 T's: tease, touch, and tell. You're making plans and you're telling them what you're doing. They like that. You're taking the lead there. So you want to start with small decisions. You want to handle the logistics, and you want to take responsibility for outcomes without complaints, right? So you're going to lead both successes and failures, right? You're going to own successes and failures. Like, if you plan an evening and it's not going the way you planned, like, own that shit. Like, don't be posting the blame with everybody else. Just own that. Be like, well, that didn't work out. Let's go and do this instead. This will be more fun, right? Just have a plan B and just go with a plan B, but just own it, speak less and act more, right? Words don't rewire attraction. Actions do. Stop trying to convince her. Demonstrate instead, right? This is where I say, talk about it, or don't talk about it, be about it. Rollo says, demonstrate, don't explicate. Like, both of those statements are very rhyming. Pretty easy to remember. Okay. You can't talk about it. You have to just be a guy that naturally starts making decisions, starts confidently, taking initiative with some of this stuff, and you start running with this stuff. Okay. The best part about all of this, and I can't sell it enough. Like, I can't oversell it. The best part about setting the tone and leading that guys just don't realize the benefit is you always get to do what you want to do. Always. You always get to do what you want to do, right? You got to look at it from that point of view, right? If I'm always the one making decisions about where we're going to eat for dinner tonight, I always get to eat what I want to eat without fail. Right? Even if you don't necessarily care where you want to eat. Okay, cool. Well, if I don't care, then I don't care what place I pick. What places do I like? Right? And start thinking of like 2 or 3 places you like, and then flip a coin to pick one, right? But you're not, you're going to go to a place that you're going to be happy with the food, and you go with it. Okay. It's a win-win. You always get to do what you want to do. Like I said, the dueling pianos thing. Like, I like dueling pianos. I went to one, God, years ago in Denver. I don't know if they're still there, but there's a place there called Sing Sings. I think they're a national chain. I went to a Sing Sings event, and God bless, that was one of the coolest shows ever. And so I knew if I took Nurse Chick to a dueling piano show, it was going to be fun, right? So I was like, we're doing dueling pianos, So you always get to do what you want to do. It's the best part about taking this mental model that you're the leader and you're setting the tone and leading. Right. So stop trying to convince her. You got to demonstrate instead. Silence and certainty are more powerful than rambling justifications. Right? Leaders don't over-explain themselves. You don't have to over-explain yourself, right? Sometimes, man, I had it's off topic but on topic, right? Like, leaders don't over-explain themselves. I had to have, with my day job, I had to have some negative conversations like a week ago with a couple of guys. And one of the things that I learned from Robert Glover is like when you're breaking bad news to people, it's best to say it in 1 or 2 sentences at most, right? Don't over explain it. Just say, this is the way things are. And you do that with breaking up with people. Like, hey, I'm not feeling a spark. I'm going to end things. Best of luck in your dating, right? Like, that's kind of maybe 3 sentences, right? But no more than that. You don't have to over explain why when you're delivering bad news, right? So same thing goes when you're making these decisions. You don't have to over explain why you want to go to Chili's tonight instead of Applebee's. We're going to Chili's tonight, right? And then the less you argue with her, the more she'll follow. Right? Leadership isn't about winning debates; it's about proving competence. And this is where, like, if she does, like, if you learn all the techniques, especially all the stuff that I talk about and Get Her to Fuck You Again, like Luca model and fogging and all that stuff, you'll never get into an argument, right? Because you're the one that's going to lead that interaction, and you're going to be doing it with these tools from a position of authority. You never have to get into an argument. Right? She might get mad. She might throw a fit and make some comments and stuff like that. But you're going to act with like indifference or, cocky, funny behavior, and you're going to not take it seriously, and you're still going to get your way. It's going to work great. And the more you do that sort of thing, the more she's going to be like, nah, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I guess we'll follow. And then she's going to start feeling better about it. I have like one of the guys in beer club, brother David, right? He's completely transformed his marriage. Like his wife loves that she doesn't have to make decisions anymore because he just started doing that stuff. And she's even said like, man, I just love that I don't have to make decisions anymore, because that's women's natural, their natural traits, right? Their natural energy is to be passive and be the ones that just show up looking hot, right? So when you start providing that more and she starts trusting that, she starts coming around and she's like, man, I actually like this. Where have you been my whole life, right? Stop chasing approval and start living by your own standards, right? So chasing approval signals weakness. Okay. If she sees you're trying to earn brownie points, she's going to lose more respect. So you can't do any of this stuff to try to get kudos. You have to do this because this is who you are now, right? You got to start doing this kind of stuff because this is who you are now. You got to lead because you want to, not because you're trying to get a specific reaction out of her. Okay. If you're trying to lead so she'll like you and be more attracted to you, that ends up being a one giant covert contract, right? So you can't do that. You got to lead because you're like, I know I don't want to be someone where life happens to them. I want to start controlling my destiny more, right? If you do that and make it about you, you're better off. It's a better mental model to have, right? When you make decisions for your vision, okay, like you start going, I want to be an active participant here in my own life. I'm going to start making shit happen for me, right? She's going to naturally want to join that, right? She's eventually going to come around and be like, yeah, I like where he's going with this. I like the directions this is going. And the more self-sufficient you are, the more she's going to want to be more a part of your life, right? The captain of a strong ship doesn't need to beg for loyalty. Like the crew will die for him. Like they'll go to hell with him. I had some captains in the Navy, where, man, first captain was pretty cool like that. Like I would say that the crew really liked him, followed his lead a lot. My second captain was kind of a pussy. My last captain, he was the kind of guy who I distinctly remember. One of my friends, he retired as a senior chief. He told me, he's like, man, I'd follow that guy into fucking hell, right? Like a good captain, a good leader will inspire that, right? When someone like really trusts your judgment and they know that you're doing the absolute best and that everything is going to work out under your leadership. And if things don't work out, you have a contingency plan. Like if you're that guy, people want to go to war with you, right? Same thing with your wife, right? She'll want to join that lifestyle. She'll want to be a part of that. She'll want to be a supporting member of that mission, right? But you got to inspire that. You can't do it because you're trying to get something out of her, It's just got to be a part of who you are. You got to make this stuff a habit. All right. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Hopefully you guys found some value in that. But that's all we got. But that's really how you go from where she doesn't respect your ass and she's not going to follow your lead. And so you got to start hitting the gym, to being more of a guy that she's going to start following. But you have to start somewhere, right? You can't, it's one of the hard things that guys, it's hard for guys to sort of get the concept of when they come to the red pill space, because they'll read an article like Ryan's and Ryan will be like, well, if she doesn't respect you, shut the fuck up about leadership. And you're like, okay, well, now what though? Right? Like, now what? Like, what? I got to start making this a habit somewhere. Like, where do I start? So hopefully this episode gives you a little bit of that actionable information on like where to start, Hey, Nuke's in the house. What's up, brother? What's going on? Guys, you can send super chats. I noticed you guys haven't sent any super chats yet, but that's okay. Alex says, sometimes I help my wife clean the house and I do it because I hate seeing a mess, especially after the kids bring out their toys, but do it for you, not for her. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you see the mess, you see it needs to be done. You don't want to live in squalor. So you're like, I'm going to fucking clean this up. Yep. But you don't wait around for your wife to say, hey, Alex, I need you, stop watching the football game and help me clean. Like, you're not doing that, right? You're just like, like she's cleaning and you're like, yeah, this needs to get done. You just start doing it, right? Like, yeah. Nurse chick won't let me clean the house. She won't. Like if she's over here, like, and I'm vacuuming, she's like, what are you doing, sir? She'll go and vacuum. She won't let me do any of that kind of stuff. But I also won't let her like take the trash out. Like I'll see her sneaking towards the door with the trash bag and I'm like, what are you doing? Stop that. And I'll go grab the trash and take it out. It's a little fun cat and mouse thing we do. Guys, tune in the podcast on Wednesday. We're going to go over chapter 7 and Get Her to Fuck You Again, which is all about rebuilding physical attraction, right? If she doesn't want to be physically intimate with you anymore, I guarantee a huge reason is because she doesn't find you physically attractive anymore, right? One of the things that I talk about when I go on other people's podcasts and I'm a guest is one of the things that I mention is when I got divorced, I was 50 pounds overweight, right? Back in 2014, I was a fat fuck. I hadn't exercised in years and I was extremely overweight. I was eating like all sorts of crap food. I guarantee that was a big reason why my wife and I were having problems. She doesn't who wants to fuck a fat person, right? a lot of chubby chasers out there, but I guarantee my ex-wife was not one of them. You know, she didn't sign up for that. She didn't marry a fat guy. I was in like really good shape when she met me and when I was in the military, right? She didn't sign up to have a fat fucking nerd for a husband. And I guarantee that caused attraction to fade over time, right? So we're going to talk about that on Wednesday, right? Like the importance of becoming physically attractive. Again, not just for her and to get her to fuck you again, right? That's nice to have, but really for your own health, for your own confidence, for your own mental and physical well-being. You want to get in better shape. So you start feeling better about yourself. You want to start working on your grooming, working on your clothes, working on your body language. We're going to talk about all that kind of stuff. Because the more physically attractive you are, the more confident you're going to be, all that kind of stuff. It ends up being a compounding effect. But those are some of the immediate changes a guy can make and immediately start seeing results, right? If not with his wife, with himself and how other people treat him because of how he's carrying himself and all that kind of stuff. You see immediate results when you start going to the gym, start losing some weight, start dressing better. You immediately start seeing changes, okay? And a lot of that too is because you're acting differently, right? When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you sort of carry yourself better. Like overall, we fix every area of your attractiveness when you start looking better. All right. So tune into that on Wednesday. Guys, if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat. I appreciate you. No super chats. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That's okay. But when you guys send super chats, especially $10, $20, or $30, I always get demonetized. So it's probably for the best. Follow me on social media. The links are in the description. Get on the email list, guys. And then I'll mail you some free stickers. In fact, I need to mail some stickers out today. And then, but get the ebook. You can download it immediately after you sign up for the email list. It's a PDF. It's about 11 pages. It's not too long. You can read it like while you're in the bathroom. But it's all about the betatization process and why attraction erodes over time. And then I go into depth in the betatization process and how to turn that around in my latest book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, which again, we're going to talk about more on Wednesday. Join us for the Beer Club Hangout this Thursday. Go to beer.comeonmanpod.com to sign up for that. Dying over here. And then if you guys need help with your relationship, you need help turning that dynamic around, book a free call with me by going to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Oh, crap. Okay. Erkin sent 10 sex, which is what is that again? Is that Swedish money? Anyway, $10 is going to get the we're going to give him the shaking booty video, I think. Send it love from everywhere. Groovy beats we
moving closer to the line. Thank you, you're the best. Party on, we never rest.
And demonetized. And then Alex sent a $5 super chat. He says, cheers. I'm going to give him this one.
Respect the cock and tame the cunt.
Yes, indeed. I need a short video for $5. I got the sound bites for $5. Or if you join Beer Club, you get bumped up to the next one. All right, guys, that's all we got. We will see you guys on Wednesday. Enjoy your, where are we at? Enjoy your day off.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. New full episodes served hot every Monday morning on your favorite podcast platform of choice. So subscribe now. Follow Paul on social media. The links are in the description. Now, go out and get it.